project. What we're doing today is we're going to remove this fixture and we're going to install a new one. This is on our outdoor patio, but this has a motion sensor on it. And we're getting tired of when we have people over, as soon as they come out, it'll only turn on for a little bit and then it goes off and it turns on, so we're just installing one that will stay constant. So the first thing we need to do is take this fixture off. So all we're going to do is, each fixture is a little bit different, but most of them will have a way of popping off. And this right here is just these two screws here. So I'm just going to unscrew these, and when I do, it's not much to it. You just pull it off and that exposes the wiring. Now every house is a little bit different, but it should have a box. This was installed back in the 50s and they did not have those boxes back then, and they installed it on this exterior brick. So they just kind of left this alone. You could take the time and actually put in a new box if you wanted. We're not going to do that today. We're just going to put the new fixture right on. We're just going to see kind of the configuration now. When we open up the new box, there's going to be another plate that will attach onto here so that we'll be able to secure the other one. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to just unwire these guys, and there's usually only 3 wires. There's going to be your black wire, your white wire, and then you're going to have just a copper color wire, which is your ground wire. This, because the wiring is so old, it does not have a ground wire. So I'll show you what we're going to do here in a minute on that. But first, these do have these wire nuts. So I'm just going to unscrew these, and that should expose all of the black wires that are coming together. So the main power is coming in here, and then it goes on to another exterior lamp that's on the other side. So this is where all the junction is of those 3 wires. So once I pull these off, it will expose the wires, if I can get the dang thing off. So we'll go ahead and stop right there. Okay, so we're just going to continue to take these off. You just unscrew them. That'll expose all of the wires. Okay, like I said, this one is missing a ground wire because the wiring is so old. It was installed back in the 50s, but it will be just fine for what we're doing today. Now that I can see that the wiring is exposed, I can also see the bracket here. This new lamp that we're putting in, or the lantern that we're putting in, it has a totally different kind of bracket. So I'm going to have to remove this entire bracket here, remove these posts here so that I can fit the new one on, and I'll show you how to do that. But first thing I got to do is I got to undo the wiring. I should mention it should be self-explanatory, but make sure that the power's off, flip the breaker, make sure you have no power going to these so you don't have any electricity, so you can actually work with these wires and not have a problem. But I've already done that, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some lineman pliers and we're just going to use it to untwist all of these wires. And then I like to keep them separated so that one I'll move off to the side, and then once I get these all undone here, then I can move that up out of the side, off to the side, and now I'm left with just these guys. Okay, so now, like I said, I got to take this bracket off so we can work on putting the new bracket on. That is going to be the base of what holds the new lamp on. So this one here, it looks like there's just 2 screws on the outside, and I'm just going to undo it. Looks like there's a little bit of paint over the years. They've repainted the house, so these screws have got quite a bit of paint, but it looks like they're coming out just fine. So once we get this off, then I will hopefully, these should be a standard size. So with the new bracket, I'm hoping that I can just use the same plugs that are in here. If not, then we might have to drill into the mortar here and create another plug. But this should be a standard size, should work just fine. So we'll go ahead and get that off, and then I'll show you how to install the new bracket. Okay, so now we've got all of this exposed. I got the old bracket off. This is the new bracket. So this is going to fit right over all the wiring like this, and it is the exact same spacing right there, so I'm able to use this. So I need to get this flat against the wall, and then how this is attached is there's 2 screws, one on each side, and on the back of it, it goes in just like this. But the problem I have is I want to keep it flat like this against the wall. When they built this, clear back in the day, they just brought this conduit down. It's a metal conduit, but now that I've got it exposed, they chiseled out some of the brick here. If I go up just a little bit higher, I might be able to pound this in just a little bit so that this will actually go up above the fixture and the fixture can lay flat on the brick. So what my attempt is going to be is I'm going to try and kind of break off some of this brick, and we'll see if I can just kind of make it just a little bit bigger. Hopefully this will all be hidden underneath the new fixture. Not sure if it's going to work, but we'll give it a shot. Okay, so my attempt of trying to chisel it out worked a little bit. I was able to chip back just a little bit to where it does fit in the crack just a little bit better, but it's still not going to be flush, and that's okay. I'm not going to take time to do that. The point of what we're working on today is just to get a new fixture that's going to stay on. So now I've got all the wires. We've got the ones that are coming through the wall into the house. This one running to the other side of the house, then I've got another that needs to be hooked up as well. So now that I've got to this point, before we start hooking all the wires up, we need to put the new bracket in. So this right here is your ground, it's for the ground wire. So when we go to hook up the new lamp, we'll hook the ground here. Even though there's not one coming out, we're still going to use it to hopefully ground out a little bit. But in the meantime, we're just going to slip this right over, bring all the wires right through the middle of this, and then I'm going to be able to take some screws and go right into where those other ones were at. So I'll go ahead and do that, and then we'll show you how to wire up the rest of it. Okay, so I went ahead and got this bracket put on. It's as good as I think it's going to get with, you know, what the issue we have with this. At least it's flat enough now that I think that this is going to mount okay. So the bracket's in place. I got it all screwed in. I went ahead and twisted all the black wires back together, all the white wires back together, and now we're just left with the back of this fixture itself. This is the ground wire that I was talking about that's going to go wrap around this green one. And then you've got the black, just the black to the black and the white to the white. So now that I've got this pretty much set up, I'm going to start with the ground wire. I'm just going to wrap that a little bit right here just to get it nice. And it doesn't have to be too tight there. Then I'm just going to take this screwdriver. I'm going to tighten that up so it stays on the middle. Just like that. Okay? So now that ground wire is in place, and then I'm going to just go the white to here and the black to there. And I'll use the lineman's pliers again to get it nice and tight. I'm going to start with my fingers a little bit. Maybe I don't have to with this particular wiring. I'll get it started. I guess I can just do it with my fingers. Then what I'm going to do also, and you probably can't see it because I'm right in the way. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to reuse these caps again and just go ahead and put it right, screw it right on, and that's going to hold all of the white wires. I'm just giving it a tug to make sure it's nice and tight. So that's going to hold all of those wires together. We grab the other one, and I'll get this one here in place. This one is a little bit shorter. I might have to go like that. There we go. Okay, so now I'll just go ahead and put that tire on. Okay, so now that it's nice and tight, one of the things that I do like to do, make sure that those are all nice and tight. I'm gonna kind of get those flat up against the wall. This should be able to just kind of dangle here by itself. And then one thing that I do like to do, I always like to take some electrical tape and just wrap around each individual one so that there's no chance of, if there is a nick in one of these wires, they can't touch and you can't get a short, or you can't get electrocuted if you actually touch the fixture. So I'm going to go ahead and do that really quick. And just kind of wrap this around just a little bit. And this obviously does not need to be perfect, but just enough to where any of the wires that would be exposed are all nice and tight behind this tape. So I'll just kind of do the same thing here. This one's a little bit tighter, but that's okay. It'll still, once I get it to go, there we go. Okay, so now that I've got that, those are all nice and tight, and I'll just push those up next to the wall. Now we're ready to actually put the fixture up onto the wall. So now that I've got that up on the wall, the only thing that's going to hold this on is I've got two little black screws. One will go from here, go right in here, the other one will go on that side. So I'll go ahead and get that done, and then we'll test it out. Okay, so now I've got it on, and you can see I've got the black screw. It's now holding into the bracket. I'm just going to tighten this up, and I'll do this on both sides, and then we're ready to get a light bulb and start testing it. Nice and tight there. Okay, so just flip the switch and all we had to do is just install the light bulb. So this is a pretty simple project. Obviously with an older house there's always some surprises. Clearly with the way that the wiring was, it's a little bit obviously not up to code, but when you're just doing a little project like this, this worked out pretty good in this case. And I think it's going to look a little bit better, and it'll stay on when we have company come over. So thanks for tuning in to this episode.